Hi all, and thanks for being with me. As always, the Liberal Party network have got together to slam the appointment of Samantha Mostyn as the next Governor-General. And their objection to her is that she's a woman and that she's too woke for them. And because she is progressive in her activities in the past and the associations with things like, AFL, she and other charitable organisations, she's far too woke for these guys on the Liberal network, or as it's commonly called, Sky News. And so I've got a series of clips in relation to their objection to this. And I'm going to start with my mate, my buddy, my best friend, Andrew Bolt. And I'm going to talk a little bit about his view of Mostyn and why he objects to her so profoundly. Now, it needs to be noted that he objects to her primarily because she's a woman. And I guess the second issue for Bolt is that she's appointed by Albanese. So clearly, anything that Anthony Albanese does on the Liberal Party TV network is likely to be criticised. Well, not likely, it will be criticised. And so we have these band of criticisms from Andrew Bolt right through to Sharry Markson and also Rita Panahi. So these are the people that tell us what it is that we should be thinking and how we should be evaluating the world in which we live, particularly from the Liberal Party TV network's perspective. So here's Andrew Bolt to start with, and I'll talk about his criticism as we go along.
But first, this today was a bit of a joke, wasn't it?
I'm very honoured to announce Ms Samantha Mostyn, AO, as Australia's next Governor-General.
Sam Mostyn is the next Governor-General? Albanese's friend? How?
So the first objection here is that it's Albanese's friend. So we don't know where that's necessarily come from. We don't know what specific relationship he has had with her in the past. But the fact that, okay, so he's Albanese's friend. So I guess that has to be an objection to start with.
Political is this. Now, one thing is...
Now, can we just remember that any appointment by the current government, no matter who they are, one could argue is political. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment.
Absolutely clear. Sam Mostyn sure has made affirmative action work for her. Demanding that women get jobs ahead of men looks like it's helped her to become our next Governor-General. Here's proof that affirmative action really does help. Well, mostly...
So what Bolt is objecting to here is the fact that women have been promoted in this instance over men. And this is about as misogynistic as you could get. But there again, it's coming from Bolt, so I guess we can't expect anything less. We can't expect a rational discussion around this particular appointment because, of course, she's a woman and she's woke.
A highly political class of women, particularly Mostyn. The Prime Minister was never going to appoint a straight white male, let's be honest. But
yeah, so never going to. So when we're thinking about misogyny and we hear Bolt talk about the fact that this is not going to appoint a straight, so you couldn't be gay, and you have to be white, and of course you have to be a male. And we need to note that at this particular time in our history, we've had a woman Governor-General a few years ago. We've had some failures in terms of men. We think of John Kerr, who decided to get rid of the Whitlam government. We've got Hollingsworth, who was caught up in a scandal in relation to pedophilia while he was within the church, while he was an archdeacon. And we've got, Hurley, who simply he decided that it was best for Morrison to have 5 ministries. So we've got a range of males who haven't been all that successful in the post over the years. And we do need to remember that this is a figurehead position. Normally, and unless they, the John Kerr situation was, of course, a rarity, but unless there's some sort of constitutional issue that needs to be resolved, the Governor-General doesn't do all that in terms of being able to change policy or reflect policy. The issue with regard to Hurley and Morrison is another issue altogether. Perhaps we should have known about these ministries that he's secretly sworn in. But nevertheless, normally the Governor-General is a representative of the Crown and does the appropriate duties in relation to that, and that they are not a political influence. They do not get involved in the politics of the day. But for people like Bolt, they think that they obviously do, and if they're a woman in particular, then they shouldn't have any say whatsoever.
But he did he really have to choose a former Labor advisor of the Snowfield left, whose big shtick has been to insist on more jobs for women like her?
Again, more jobs for women. Can't have that, Mr. Bolt. That would be a terrible thing to suggest. And at this particular point, I would suggest that any woman watching this on a television set should probably throwing eggs at him, because that's really simply what he deserves.
Now, I'm not being mean in calling Mostyn's appointment the triumph of affirmative action.
Oh, yes, you are. You've just stated that, and now he's trying to backtrack. Jesus.
Over talent or accomplishment, even though she denied it.
I've not done anything in my life that could smack of tokenism.
You see, Mostyn, unlike many past Governor-Generals, has just never risen to any great leadership position in politics, the military or the law. Journalists today, struggling to give her credit for more than getting plum jobs for herself, claim that she led the creation of the AFL Women's League. And she mentioned that too.
It's one of the things I'm most proud of.
Don't you love just the little snippets where he criticises her and she says that she's proud of something? She's held lots of other positions, won't go into them all now, but look her up, Google her, find out for yourself what you think of her. But the point is that Bolt has to take her down primarily because she's a woman. This is about as misogynistic as the Liberal TV network could ever get. And it's blatantly obvious to all of us what Bolt is attempting to do on this occasion. Now, the Sharry Markson one I found quite interesting, and I'll play that for you in a second. So Sharry's with Senator Canavan. I could think of another nasty word to describe this bloke, but nevertheless, Senator Canavan is on with a guy who's the mayor of, I forgot his name, it'll come up in a moment, but the mayor of Perth. And so Sharry's expecting both of these guys, knows that it's going to happen from Canavan, distinct criticism of this appointment, but she doesn't get what she expects from the other dude. And what he says is quite sensible, realistic, and is not really in tune with what the Liberal TV network would normally prefer. So I'll play this for you.
General Sam Mostyn. We saw that Janet Albrechtson in The Australian today dubbed her the worst of modern woke Australia. Meanwhile, my colleague Andrew Bolt has said that she's just a second-tier warrior. Have a look at what he had to say.
This is actually your new Governor-General, a second-tier functionary of the new left, chosen by a socialist left Prime Minister to, and this is the joke, to be the Governor-General, a unifying, supposedly, and apolitical, supposedly, figure representing us all.
And then, as you may have seen on my show last night, former Victorian Liberal Party President Michael Kroger was also scathing of the appointment.
So this is quite interesting because this is trying to set up a negative response in relation to this particular appointment. So she runs through now what have been some of the commentary in relation to this. Only commentary, I hasten to add, that's on the Liberal Party TV network and nowhere else, but negative comments about Mostyn. So let's just see how this unfolds.
Why does Albo always have to pick someone from the inner city woke brigade, constantly on the government payroll, former Labor staffer? He is constantly in the throes of the inner city woke left. I mean, everything he seems to do is he collapses under the pressure of activism and activists.
Michael Kroger's a dick, so who's going to really listen to what he has to say? But obviously, being a Liberal Party, ex-Liberal Party president, he seems to have a lot of clout on the Liberal Party TV network.
Matt Canavan, some of the criticisms of Sam Mostyn, that she is a big climate change advocate, that she's referred to Australia Day as Invasion Day in the past. Do you agree with this appointment?
Oh, how dare she refer to Australia? That is almost the greatest sin of all, is to side with Indigenous people about the way they view Australia Day.
I think the Prime Minister's made a massive mistake here. And I think the evidence is there for all to see. The proof is in the eating of the pudding here. The appointment of a Governor-General should be, and almost always has been, certainly in my lifetime has been, a unifying moment for the country. This is clearly not one with the...
And I think we just need to be clear that the people objecting to this are the right wing in Australian politics, and that it is them who are... They could have chosen to be supportive of this nomination, but they've chosen not to be, and they're the ones that are attempting to divide the nation on this issue.
Legion of criticism that's coming here from all sorts of quarters about this decision. So the Prime Minister has failed and erred here, and perhaps he should think again. I think this is just a Governor-General elect. It hasn't actually occurred. So maybe there should be a reconsideration here. I mean, I think what normally happens in these instances is that someone is appointed of such stature that's achieved so much in their life that whatever their particular political views may or may not be, Australians can get over those and be proud of their achievements. So, and with all due respect to Miss Mostyn here, I didn't know her beforehand. She's probably a lovely person, but I mean, reading through her career, it's hard to point to what has she done, what has she built, what has she achieved, what has she run. And I'm saying that with all humility. I'm not saying I should be. I mean, I'm not.
No, you're the last person that should be GG, buddy.
Putting myself forward for Governor-General, but somebody that gets appointed to this role probably should have those kind of achievements which all Australians can respect and therefore we all unify behind, and that hasn't happened in this case, and that's very sad.
Basil, it is a controversial appointment, and I'm actually told that she's been a good personal friend of the Prime Minister's himself, so that could have influenced his decision here as well.
Well,
can I just make this one point here, is that Sherry Markson has this thing where she'll say, I have been told. She never says who's told her whatever it is that is the current controversy. She'll just say, I have been told by somebody. But never, this is the worst of journalism. Look, I've criticised Sherry before because I think she's one of the worst journalists there is, and it's terrible that she has this spot on the Liberal Party TV network. But we must note that this I have been told business really needs to be called out for what it is, which is basically just a slur.
Possibly. I guess we respect and understand the right of all leaders to appoint people that are known to them or they've got an intimate knowledge of. She has been a successful businesswoman, there's no doubt about that. She's been on the AFL Commission. She's been a community leader. I take all of the points that have been mentioned as reasons why this decision is not universally popular or immediately a unifying decision. I suppose, though, what good Australians do is they respect the office, they respect the role, and it now remains to be seen, how does Miss Mostyn respect that role? What sort of a Governor-General is she going to be? So we have seen some of the comments that she's made in the past. We've known her positions on certain issues. I think we'd like to think that the Governor-General is apolitical and somebody that all Australians can look up to. She still has the opportunity to be that sort of Governor-General, and I guess now it's up to her to be the sort of Governor-General that a majority of Australians would wish her to be. Let's see.
We will indeed. Now let's have a look at...
Now, interestingly enough, at that particular point, Sherry thinks, this is not going where I intended it to go. Because Basil has decided to highlight probably what is probably seen as a more rational view around Sam Mostyn. And a correct view, in fact. Like, give the woman a chance to prove herself. Let's not diminish her right now because you happen to disagree with some political views that she might have. Let's just see. And the other point I want to make is, in the past, we've tended to opt for people that were members of the church. That didn't work out too well for Hollingsworth. We've also appointed people that were judges. That didn't work out well in terms of Kerr. And we've also appointed generals and people that were in the military. And that sometimes hasn't worked out well for them as well. Choosing a woman that is progressive in her thinking and that has the ability and obviously the talent to listen to other people and hear their stories and to be engaging with people because she has worked at the ground level, which is more than what I can say for a lot of the other appointees, then let's just see what happens. And of course, at this particular juncture, Sherry had to move on to something else because this was too much for her. She couldn't take Basil's response because it just made sense. And then we have another perspective, which is Rita Panahi interviewing my friend, my buddy, Douglas Murray. And this is where it becomes a little bit more jaded in a sense because she's interviewing Murray because that's what she does. And Douglas thinks he has an idea about almost everything. He wouldn't know who Sam Mostyn is. He wouldn't know anything about the Governor-Generals in the past, but they have to make it about wokeness and they have to make it about the Australian culture, also something else that Douglas Murray knows nothing about. So let's see what she has to say right here.
Yeah, you no doubt would have picked up on the growing culture of self-loathing among the political left here, similar to the US and the UK. We've got folks here who very much...
Don't you just love this self-loathing shit? Like, where in the hell does that come from? We are not self-loathing. We want things to change. And because we want things to change and we're accepting what happens historically to our country and things that we're a party to, which are still problems today, then we want that to change. It doesn't make us self-loathing. That makes us people who are just looking for things to be different. It's as simple as that.
Subscribe to a black armband view of our history. They think Australia Day is not worth celebrating and they call it Invasion Day. And this week, we selected one of these people, Sam Mostyn, as the Australian head of state. Yes, our new Governor-General has posted about 80,000 years of Australian history with the vapid hashtags Invasion Day and always was, always will be. Douglas, her appointment as Governor-General has been called an insult to mainstream Australians, but I've got to say, she is a media darling.
It's extraordinary, Rita. I picked up on this in recent weeks in Australia.
Good for you. I've picked up on this in recent weeks in Australia because I'm just a snotty little shit and I know all that there is to know about Australia. Now that I've visited here a couple of times and speak to you on the Liberal Party TV network.
The way in which the general public are being told to feel guilt for things they did not do, to have culpability for things they're not guilty of. Nobody's been guilty of. And what we really have in these sorts of figures are people, they don't feel, my friend Lionel Shriver corrected me on this some time ago, and I'll follow her correction. It's interesting that people like this new Governor-General, they actually don't feel bad about themselves. They love themselves.
Now, how in the hell does he know any of that? How does he know what Sam Mostyn thinks about anything? The man does not know her, probably hasn't read anything about her. He's just simply been asked this question by Rita Pants on Fire. And as a result of that, he thinks he has the answers. He makes me sick, actually, because I think he's a big mouth with so little to say that is substantive, and they get him on to talk about controversial issues over which he has no information whatsoever. Look, buddy, I reckon stick to talking about Israel and the IDF and celebrate all the wonderful things they're doing in Gaza, because that's the sort of shit that gets you the coverage that you actually want. But don't start talking about this other crap that you know nothing about, and particularly in relation to Australian political affairs. So that's my rant about the GG. Now, because, as I always say at the end of every presentation or every video, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, make some comments, do whatever you need to do to let me know what you think about the Governor-General. I just think, basically, the Governor-General goes off, does her thing. It's a token appointment. It doesn't change anything. It's not a political issue at all, even though they want to make it. The Liberal Party TV network want to make it a political issue. It is not. It's simply a woman who has the credentials, the experiences and whatever to hold this job in high esteem, to be able to represent the Crown. Another issue altogether. Well, we need to have someone representing the Crown in the first place is beyond me, but we're not a republic yet, so this is the way we have to roll. Let it be someone who's at least progressive and down to earth. Let me know what you think in the comment sections below. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.